All right, so what is a 1031 exchange?
Good question. 1031 exchange is also known as a Starker exchange, is where you can take one like-kind property and essentially defer your capital gains on it. So example of a 1031 exchange would be you buy a property for $1 million, 5 years later it's worth $2 million and you sell the property. You now have, in theory, $100,000 of gains. Rather than paying taxes on those, you can enter a 1031 exchange through a qualified intermediary and buy out what are called a like-kind property. So in real estate, if you buy a multifamily property and you sell that, you could buy another multifamily property. You can buy up to 3 properties. We can also buy an industrial property or a triple net retail property or even office properties as well.
Awesome. So you mentioned like-kind properties. What is that exactly?
When we're talking about real property, we're talking about real estate assets. So if you're selling again, a multifamily property, or if you're selling an industrial property, or if you're selling an office property, you can exchange those into a property that's like kind, which would be another real estate asset. So that could be again, if you sold an industrial property, you can reinvest in a multifamily property or into an office property or into potentially a triple net retail property as well, as long as it's like kind, being real estate investment assets.
Gotcha. So outside of that like kind stipulation, are there any other requirements in order for a 1031 exchange to be executed?
So when working with 1031s, we always make sure we work with our investors to ensure we're following all the proper steps. Whether that's one of the main ones, you do have to enter with a qualified intermediary before entering the sale. There's a couple time frames. One is 45 days. Upon the sale of your asset, you have 45 days to identify an asset or multiple assets for the exchange. And then you have a 180-day window after that to actually complete the transaction as well, to have a qualified 1031 exchange.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned a qualified intermediary?
Yeah, so qualified intermediary is someone that will essentially hold your funds to make sure you're following with the IRS rules. So you're going to put your funds with them. They're going to be one to ensure that you're meeting all of those steps to meet those IRS requirements and defer those gains.
With that in mind, what is F Street's role in all of this?
F Street always takes a great role with our 1031 investors. So we've worked with 1031 investors for years. We really work with them to not only identify the assets that they're looking for, whether they're looking for long-term appreciation, they're looking for cash flow, or they're looking for value add. We're helping identify the asset and then manage the asset. That's arranging the financing, arranging the refinancing, asset management, optimizing cash flow. So we're really with our investors from not only the step of possibly disposition of their asset to finding that next asset, recommending a QI or qualified intermediary, and then managing that asset for our investors to help them achieve their financial goals, again, whether they want to achieve long-term financial gains, cash flow, or continue to gain and continue to build their portfolio.
If I was a qualified investor, I had a situation that qualified for something like this, where could I move forward?
So great question. So if somebody wanted to move forward with us on working with their 1031 exchange and helping us identify an asset for them, they can visit fstreet.com. We have an area called 1031 exchanges, goes through the process for F Street, how we work with you, different processes we look at.